And right now, first, here off the top on the WHAS11 night team, a 19-year-old is charged with murder tonight, and then the charges are all dropped. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us. I'm Doug Proffitt. It all stems from that fatal shooting this afternoon at a home on Malvern Hill Road. Now, that's just off Westport Road in the Plantation neighborhood of the East End. Metro Police say officers were called there at 2:30 this afternoon to reports of a shooting at a home. Police say they found a man inside the house suffering from a gunshot wound. He died after being taken to University Hospital. Metro Police then announced that 19-year-old Taj Harrison was being charged with murder. That was just before 8 o'clock tonight. Then at 9 o'clock tonight, Metro Police said before being taken to jail, their homicide detectives got new information in the case, talked with the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, and determined that Harrison would not be charged tonight. No charges against him. Police say everyone involved in the shooting is accounted for. They gave no further details. And happening within the past hour, the late decision from JCPS tonight. The buses are going to be rolling again back to 3 schools that had lost their transportation and partially also to 3 others as well. After a very long school board meeting tonight, the late vote by the school board. It's all possible because 68 former TARC drivers will now be driving yellow school buses. Routes for the restored students will come to Coleridge Taylor Elementary, Young Elementary, and Johnson Traditional Middle Schools. Also, bus service is coming back for the free and reduced lunch students at Manual High School, Butler Traditional, and Mayo High School. That could happen by mid-March. WHAS 11 Night Team's Alex Dederer was at the meeting tonight where they decided how to move forward. We're going to have her story coming up in just a moment. But first, we want to let you know that the board wants to revisit their bus staffing in June. And if the numbers are still strong, they're going to revisit transportation students for all magnet students. At the same time, they will also be transitioning to a possible new superintendent. Again, our full report from the meeting is coming up. But first, we do have a lot more news to bring you. We do have new information tonight. The White House has ordered all federal agencies to suspend any grants that they believe conflicts with President Donald Trump's executive orders. Government departments and nonprofits are scrambling to interpret the changes. Within just minutes before it was set to take effect, today a federal judge temporarily blocked the rule.
Congress holds the power of the purse. That is very clear in the Constitution.
The American people elected President Trump to be the president of the United States and gave him a mandate to increase the impact of every federal dollar.
The federal judge blocked the policy from taking effect until Monday, February 3rd. A hearing's also scheduled for that morning, and it could provide more details.
So some of that initial day-to-day work is looking different, but there's still lots of people here who have been welcomed over the last year, 2 years, 3 years that we're working to serve.
And happening news since 6 o'clock tonight here in Louisville. Kentucky Immigration Services addressing the public after a week of watching President Donald Trump's executive actions. It stopped travel for refugees going through the legal process searching for a new life here in America. The Louisville area organizations acknowledge that they currently cannot receive new immigrants who were waiting for their chance at a new life right here in the Derby City. WHAS 11 Night Team's Jose Alonso and photojournalist Levi Hammer continue our coverage on how federal immigration changes are impacting Kentuckiana.
At the Louisville Free Public Library, organizations who focus on immigration services participated in a panel addressing the public about what they and their clients have been enduring after President Donald Trump's executive action.
When the executive order went into effect, all 93 people that we had booked to travel in the next month and a half, their flights were canceled.
Allison Voigt partially represented the Catholic Charities of Louisville at the World Affairs Council of Kentucky and Southern Indiana panel. She describes what's been going on inside their offices on Broadway Street after a week of carefully watching the Trump administration's new policies on refugee resettlement.
We're still able to do a lot for our clients. We're supporting them every step of the way from their journey into the United States up to 5 years after they arrive.
It was a packed room full of Kentucky and Indiana residents with questions and concerns.
And some of the Central American minors who come here.
Executive Director of Kentucky Refugee Ministries, John Kohlinger, answering some of those questions while also shedding a light on changes.
We're not receiving refugees at the airport who've as we've done for 35 years.
The ministry has been a beacon of support for the growing Cuban population through job development and legal immigration support. Kohlinger says last year alone, 1,500 clients were placed into jobs.
I mean, we have so many refugees and immigrants who are working like at UPS or Amazon. So your holiday gifts that arrived on your door, were handled and packaged by refugees likely, and maybe transported by former refugees.
Immigrant workers and business owners generate $14 billion of economic output for the state.
These organizations continue to offer supportive services, but are still in limbo if families can be reunited and if any new faces can call Louisville home. Jose Alonso, WHAS 11 Night Team, on your side.
Indiana's governor signed an executive order today ordering state law enforcement in Indiana to comply with ICE to remove undocumented immigrants. Republican Governor Mike Braun described it as going after the worst first, focusing on people who have committed crimes. This comes after Indiana's Attorney General Todd Rokita already sued one sheriff's office for allegedly not complying with ICE agents.
I'm going to direct any of our authorities to not resist, and hopefully they'll be compliant on their own. And I think a large part of the jurisdictions across our state will be without any push from this office.
Indianapolis police and the Indy FOP are pushing back on requirements that they report to ICE. FOP President Rick Snyder in Indianapolis said there needs to be clear lines between local police officers and federal officers. In the case against the St. Joseph County Sheriff's Office, the sheriff argued that before this order, no state or federal law requires the sheriff or the jail to enforce federal immigration laws. Now we want to go back to our top story tonight, as reported by WHAS 11 Night Team's Alex Dieterer, covering that lengthy school board meeting tonight. The final vote, the buses are going to be rolling again to some schools.
Again, I am Love Eden, and I am one of the 2,900 magnet school students who will be positively impacted if you vote yes to reinstate busing for magnet schools.
Pleas from students.
By voting yes, you invest and advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion.
And teachers, answered by the JCPS board tonight.
Ayes have it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
The school board voted to restore bus routes for some magnet and traditional schools. 68 truck drivers are now ready to hit the road and learn their JCPS routes.
This is the exact recommendation we said in September. We'd have 68, and we've gotten 68. And so we are ready to proceed forward on this.
The restorations will bring back buses for all students at Coleridge Taylor Elementary School, Young Elementary School, and Johnson Traditional Middle School. At DuPont Manual, Butler Traditional, and Male High School, bus routes will only return for students on the free and reduced lunch program. And while concerns linger from the transportation meltdown of 2023,
what are the chances of a really bad day happening like we had a year ago if we do this?
The district is steadfast.
I'm very confident in our routing team. I'm very confident in our compound coordinators. I'm very confident.
The next step is for a poll to go out to families who lost transportation to ask if they would prefer a gas stipend or restored transportation. Then the district will determine the number of students who will need a bus. JCPS will build the routes and have drivers practice them, with restored routes ready by March 17th.
Now is the time for you to do the right thing for this community, and we will be with you.
The board said students who transferred schools this year because of lack of transportation will be able to transfer back to their magnet or traditional school next school year. In Louisville, Alex Dieterer, the WHAS 11 Night Team, on your side.
And a reminder, the school board says it does want to revisit the bus staffing in June. And if the numbers are still strong, they will revisit transportation services for all magnet students. And that would be coming up in June. Well, the state of Kentucky's foster care system is back under the microscope. We first told you last year that kids are being temporarily housed in state office buildings, state parks, and hotels across the state. Kentucky's auditor, Allison Ball, a Republican, releasing the results of her months-long investigation today. 49 foster kids had to sleep inside state buildings recently from June to October of last year. This does not include the children staying at state parks or hotels. The youngest was just 1 year old. Allison Ball's study found 2 were staying in those offices in Louisville. And you're looking at video from Kentucky's Cabinet for Health and Human Family Services provided to WHAS 11 News, showing the dorms inside the L&N building on Broadway in downtown Louisville. The auditor is putting the responsibility squarely on the shoulders of the Cabinet Secretary Eric Friedlander, appointed by Governor Andy Beshear. According to the report, kids stayed an average of 4 days in one of these state buildings. We asked Ball about the study today.
The impression that I was given is that, it's teenage kids, boys who have a history of perhaps being violent or difficult to control. And that's not the picture that's presented with this information.
But the average age was around 14, with 6 kids reportedly under 10 years old. Youth advocates, though, say the problem is beyond the state foster care system's current resources, which is part of why office buildings like these are even in play. The Cabinet for Health and Family Services did send us a response to the report, saying in part, we're working to provide more funding to secure additional safe, short-term care options for youth, and we've publicly addressed this multiple times with lawmakers. Just today, we filed an emergency regulation to increase funding that will support many of these children. It was a week ago right here on the night team that we reported on that teenage boy who jumped into icy McNeely Lake to save 2 teenage girls who had fallen through the ice. Today he was honored by the mayor of Louisville for his bravery. 17-year-old Brandon Malone sprung into action when he heard 2 girls screaming after falling through the ice at the lake. He jumped into the ice waters, wading about 100 yards out into the water. And today Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg proclaimed the DeSales High School senior as a distinguished Louisville citizen.
I would just like to say how grateful and happy I am right now. Did not think I would be here in this moment, and I'm just so grateful that I have all these people around me.
Well said, Brandon. Due to his quick thinking skills, the mayor also offered Brandon a spot as a lifeguard at one of the city pools this summer. That's right, Brandon's got a summer job if he wants it.